Walmart Dink Pods here. Today we're checking out the Razer Kishi Ultra. This is not sponsored, but they did send a couple over for me to try out. I enjoy checking out new tech here and there. And yeah, here we have a sort of controller-esque thing. I have already tried it out a bit. I unboxed one of them so you can sort of see how it works. But yeah, it is pretty simple. So we have these little tabs here I just pulled out. If you want to use a device with a case on it, like this iPad mini here, you kind of need to take them off. I do have a couple of issues with the iPad in particular. Half of the power button / fingerprint reader is covered by the controller, so it's a little bit hard. And also the volume up button. Last time I tried this, it kind of just forced my tablet to go fully max volume because I guess it was pressing into it a little too hard. It is in fact doing that again. As you can see, the volume just keeps trying to go up. There is of course a fix to that using the rubber pads. It is still a little annoying because I have to take the case off in that case, and I love running all of my stuff with cases because yeah, I can be clumsy. So it actually does come with 3 sets of these rubber feet, one for specifically the iPad mini here, one for Android phones and one for iOS phones. Though in every case, it's always USB-C. So the only iPhone you could actually use with this is the new 15. I'm not sure how well you can see that, but with the rubber pads and without a case, there is a bit of a gap there between the volume buttons. So that actually works. The power button / fingerprint reader is pretty much fully exposed now as well. But yeah, this is essentially a controller. We'll get into ergonomics and like clickiness in a second, but let's do a quick unboxing of this other one, and then we can also sort of, you know, see what it looks like on a regular phone as well. Yeah, there we go. There's not much to say about the unboxing. You get the controller itself, and like I said earlier, 3 sets of rubber feet with 1 set of them already pre-installed. This is apparently made for iPad and iPhone, but it does work with Android, so we're gonna try my Android phone. First, I'm going to try it without any rubber pads to see if that's fine, because I, again, use a case on my stuff. Oh. Okay, and this looks a lot more normal as a handheld. Let's get into the functionality, I suppose. This is of course mostly meant to play mobile games with a controller like Genshin. Strangely, it doesn't seem like my phone is recognizing that there's a controller here. Or the controller isn't recognizing the phone, because usually there would be some RGBs here going off. It is possible the bottom part of my case here is too thick. We're gonna see if it works without the case and with the rubber pads. I mean, it still looks pretty good. I wish there was some sort of locking mechanism. I don't imagine I will like be pushing it up and down and everywhere on purpose, but it feels a little unsecure. I do want to go around now talking about the various things on the controller. So we do have a USB-C here on the bottom of the controller. This is for pass-through, so you can charge whatever is connected in here at the same time. I'm not sure how I feel about it being on the bottom. I don't think it's going to get in the way in a lot of situations. Even when I'm like playing directly on the table here, you know, it's angled in such a way that it doesn't actually hit the table or anything. But yeah, it's just kind of sticking out here now, so I don't know. It also doesn't need to be connected all the time, obviously, only when you need to charge. The other thing which I thought was really interesting is you can connect this to like a PC, for example, and use this as a standalone controller. When I first saw that selling point, I thought, yeah, that's pretty neat. You know, you can use it for your phone, and then when you don't want to play Genshin or some other mobile game and you want to play a PC game, connect it to your PC. But now that I'm here and holding it, I mean, it feels fine. It feels like a controller, but it is still kind of weird there not being anything here and using it as a controller. But I guess if you're in a pinch, it can double as just a normal controller as well. I am also currently trying the headphone feature. It works perfectly fine, as you would expect. And then we have, you know, the kind of Xbox controller layout. Personally, I've always been a PS guy. I prefer the control sticks next to each other, and it's not a huge deal or even necessarily a con. It's just a personal preference thing. And it's really not that hard to adapt to a slightly different controller layout. Up here, we actually have a total of 6 buttons as opposed to the typical 4 on controllers. These like extra L4, R4 buttons here. We can get into like programming what the buttons do a little bit later. And then back on the face, we have several small buttons here that do various things. Most of them I find to not be that useful, but we do have like a dedicated screen capture button, which I guess could be handy if you want to try and get some clips of stuff. As for price, at the time of recording, I have no idea. I'll have it on screen here. For something like this, I can't imagine it should be over $100, but it is Razer and there are RGBs here. So like most first party controllers are about 60. I guess since this can be used as a standalone controller for PC and not just like a mobile phone holder controller, there's some added value there. Though to be fair, I'm really not on the go or sitting on a bus or a train very often, and I absolutely would prefer this over using a touchscreen. But if I know I have like a long Genshin session coming up, I'm going to play at my PC or PS5. So we're going to go and pop this back in. I mean, it is pretty easy, and we can check out the pass-through charging here. So we just plug that in. I'm not sure how well you can see that, but there is a lightning bolt there, and also notice that I am charging the device with USB. So yes, that works. Okay, how about we also talk about the buttons themselves? That is pretty important. L3, R3, they do click in, of course. The D-pad, very clicky, very like fast response feeling, which is would be important for me for like Tetris. The one sort of issue I have is with the letter buttons. They are also clicky, which I like, but the sound they make, I imagine if there's someone in your vicinity, they might get annoyed pretty fast, especially if you're playing a game with a lot of mashing, like. The rest of them sound perfectly fine though. It could just be another personal preference thing. They just don't sound great to me. They do feel fine though. They're not like mushy or anything. So I know this is going to be a little hard to see, but oh, interesting. On my iPad, Genshin recognized I had a controller attached, but on my Android phone, it's not doing that. We're gonna try disconnecting and reconnecting and see if that solves the issue. So yeah, I guess start controller. Okay, it looks like my phone has a specific app for using controllers because this is kind of like a specifically gaming phone, I suppose. I really don't want to bother with this right now. Yeah, that's pretty odd. Genshin just straight up isn't recognizing the controller. I'm sure I could get it to work. It's probably something with my phone software, but I really just don't want to troubleshoot right now. Here on my iPad, for example, it shows up, there's controller here, boom, easy as that. And then yeah, just like that, we're already playing, can do some stuff, some bursts, sure, why not? I mostly play Genshin with a keyboard, but I'm comfortable enough with a controller as well. So, I mean, this is pretty nice, honestly, you know? Just chilling here, got my little screen, it's very portable. There are other products like this on the market. I think this is one of the more elegant solutions though, especially if you want to play with a bigger screen like an iPad mini here. To reiterate though, I believe you do need one of the more recent iPad minis. Mine is a generation 6, it has USB-C and I guess the form factor is appropriate here. When I first plugged it into my iPad, it did prompt me to install this app, Nexus. It didn't do that for the Android, but again, there could be some conflicts there. I will say though, when I first installed this app, it did not detect that there was a controller connected. Today, now when I'm launching it again, it seems like everything is fine. But yeah, we can actually remap those L4 R4 buttons here, and I believe we can remap even the standard buttons, but we would have to go to the iPad settings for that. If we actually go to add profile, then we can actually change what like the A button does. We can change A to R2, for example, and then we have to save that profile and then use that profile. But yeah, the L4 and R4 buttons you can do within the Nexus app. I guess it has to be separate for some kind of limitational reason, but it's a little unfortunate, I suppose. I don't think remapping your controller is something you're going to do super often anyways, so it's not a big deal to me. But yeah, I mean, what can I say? It does what it does pretty well. Taking it out and putting it in is like super fast, super easy. I don't like that I can't use it with a case because that means every time I'm done using it, then I have to come and get my case again. And so if I could get my Android to work eventually, then I'd probably just leave it in there and use that to game whenever I want some portability or I don't know, go outside one day.